Hey everybody, it's Dana and welcome back to the channel. Today I am sharing with you such a cute and fun card using products from the Gina K January 2024 release. So we're using this adorable stamp set called Slay Queen. I absolutely love this little punch bug up here. That's what we used to call them, punch bugs, little Volkswagens. And it's going to make such a cute card. Now, I will have all the products I use listed below, but let's go ahead and jump into the card. So I'm starting out with Copic Express It paper. I like this paper because it's a smooth finish to it, so it helps me with my alcohol ink blending. So I went ahead and placed that into my Misty. Now I am going to use a pigment ink with this today, but I am going to make sure to heat set this. So I'm using my VersaFine Clair ink here, and this is a really nice dark black ink. So if you're looking for a good black pigment ink, I love this Fine line. I'll go ahead and stamp that down, and you'll see when I pick this up, I really have a great first impression, but I wanted to get it just a tad bit darker. So as you can see, I have a great stamped image here, but I'm going to keep going because I really want this to be a little bit darker. Now, once I stamp this second one, I'm going to have a lot of ink, let's say. So I'm going to have to heat set this back. But before I heat set it, I did know in advance that I wanted to heat emboss with this. So once I pull this up, now my paper moved just a tad bit, so we're going to have a little bit of a chunky Volkswagen today. I'm going to grab a piece of scrap paper and I'm going to pour on some clear embossing powder. This clear embossing powder is from Hero Arts, and I'll make sure to cover up the image very well. Go ahead and tap that around, and then I can go ahead and shake off the excess. The reason I wanted to heat emboss with this today is it's going to give me an opportunity to really not worry about going outside my lines. So anytime you're doing coloring, if you do a little bit of heat embossing first, you can kind of stay in the lines a little bit better. It's not a guarantee, but I find that if I do heat emboss, I do end up having more of a crisper image. All right, since I have that done, I'm going to go ahead and heat set this from the front and the back. You guys, if you've been on my channel, you know I like to heat set from the front and the back of my cards. Once this is done, you'll see I have this adorable little Volkswagen for us to color up. And look how cute this card is. And you can really see the embossing with this. All right, let's go ahead and start coloring. I like to make sure I have a piece of paper behind my image anytime I color, just because I know the ink is going to seep through. Now, my colors today, I am going to use my Olo markers for this, but you can use any alcohol marker you want. I'm going to make sure to zoom in so you can see this coloring. So I do have a color inspiration today, as I have been having a lot lately in my videos. These are the colors I'm going to use. We're going to make it red because it's going to be Valentine's Day cards. And here are the colors I'm using. Now, I will make sure to link all the colors that I used. So if you guys want to recreate this card, you'll be able to. I did speed this up just a little bit because this is just simple coloring here. I do want to go in with my first color. This is how I color anytime I'm using any kind of alcohol markers. I like to have just down a base color. To me, if I have a base color down, it allows me to blend a little bit better because I already have some ink already on the paper. So as you can see, I'm just doing a very light coat of this red, and this is going to be my lightest of the shades. Next, I'm going to move in with my medium color, and I'm going to use that to darken up some of the edges. Now, I'm not having a reference as far as like where my light is coming in on this image. I just want to do some pretty coloring. I'm now coming in with my darkest and my lightest, and I'm going to see if I can get a little bit of shading on this. I realized that it was a little bit too light and I wanted to darken this up. So I went ahead and went full strength with that marker. And when you do this, you kind of start to see like the shape of the door. It doesn't look flat anymore. And that's what shading does when you are coloring. Now, once I get that shading in, this card really seems to come to life. So I do add just a little bit more, and you can really see how that door no longer looks like a flat door. It looks like it has dimension to it. And that's what I wanted with this image. I also wanted to look like it was a little bit more vintage by having that deeper kind of shadowing just around those doors. Now I'm coming in with my lightest of my grays, and I'm realizing at this point I was picking up a little bit of that red. So I did heat set this back just a tad bit, just so I don't blend in that red with that gray. But guess what? If you do, it's okay. It's going to be okay. Next, I'm coming in with a darker shade of that gray, just adding in some shading around those areas, and then I can blend everything back out. So this probably took me maybe about 20 minutes to color. I was watching a movie off to the side and doing coloring, and it was a great experience. I'll come in with a little bit of a lighter gray. Now I am using warm grays. I guess I want to tell you that here. I'm using warm grays with this. And I'm going to kind of put a little bit of that warm gray in the windows so it's just not stark white. I'll fill that in, and it just looks like a very light tint. You know, we don't want to go too heavy handed with this. So we're just going to add a little bit. I love how this turned out. I think it's so darling, but I do want to add the dye to this. Now, within this set that I got from Gina, I did have the coordinating dyes, and you guys know how I feel about dyes. If you can afford to buy them, grab them, because it really does make your fussy cutting non-existent in some cases, but I really do adore now having dyes. It just makes my life a little bit simpler. I am going to grab my easy tape here and go ahead and tape this into place. Now, if you guys are making this same card, I would love to see it in a rainbow. So if anybody's up for the challenge, make this bug in rainbow colors and then tag me on your Instagram or wherever you can find me so I can see it. I'm going to go ahead and run this through my die cut machine, and then we're going to come back and we're going to have this adorable little bug. He's so cute. All right, now it's time for us to go ahead and start building up this card. But before, I want to make sure I just add a little bit of highlights with my white gel pen. I'm going to do my lights on my car, and then I'm going to just fill in some areas just for a little bit of a highlight. As you can see already in the stamp set, there has highlight marks in there. So I'm going to go ahead and fill those in. This was also a great chance for me to fill in any areas that I did get a little bit of that red outside the line. I come right back in on that top piece, fill that in because I realized I totally forgot to color that. So I'm going to go ahead and add that in, and then I'm going to go right back in with that Jelly Roll pen and add that as a highlight. I just needed a little bit of a base color behind it. But look how cute this is. This is just not perfect just for a Valentine's Day card. This is a great masculine. We can make masculine cards with that. That'd be pretty darn awesome. All right, now we're going to come in and start building up our card. So I do have Copic Express paper here because that's what I colored with, and I kind of want those two to kind of match. And within the stamp set, you're going to get this chain of hearts. At first, I thought maybe it would have it look like it's smoking out the back of the car, like the exhaust would have all the hearts. But then I was like, well, why not have like a heart cobblestone street? Because that would just be just adorable. So I'm going to line that up, kind of see where I want it, but I'm also going to grab my sentiment real quick. And I'm just looking to see what sentiment's going to work best. Now, like I said, this is going to be a Valentine's Day card for me because I am doing my Valentine's Day card series right now. So I think the Slay Queen is going to be perfect for this. I love that sentiment in this stamp set. I just got to say it. I love this sentiment in this stamp set. And who would not be slaying in this adorable card? All right, I did grab out my Taylor Expressions. This is a grid mat to kind of help me line everything up. So I'm going to place my card back down, and these little grid mats are perfect just for this purpose. It's just to make sure you get things where you want them before you stamp. So remember, I said I wanted to have the cobblestone hearts as if my car was driving over it. And then I wanted to have my sentiment. But once I put down my sentiment, I did feel like I wanted to maybe raise this up a little bit. So when I place my sentiments together like that, I'm like, maybe I want 2 rows of those adorable hearts. So I'm just going to scooch up the card just a little bit. That's going to give me enough room to add in 2 of those rows. Now, since I have everything lined up where I need it to be, this is when I can start really building up this background. Now, if you did not want to use this, you could totally put the card on an action wobble, which I think would be adorable, and then have it like wobble on your card. Now, since I have the layout, I know where everything needs to go. I can go ahead and remove that grid that I have there. But now let's go ahead and start thinking about the colors that I want to match my little bug here. Now, when you're doing any kind of alcohol markers, and you have swatches of ink colors, go ahead and grab your swatches. This is totally going to help you make sure that your reds match. So as you can see here, I think that poppy looks good. That coral reef will look pretty well. But because I have everything swatched out, I can really totally go in and kind of custom color match with my inks. But I really think that that poppy might be the winner. So I'm going to go with that one because I just think it looks perfectly with that. I believe that base was a R06 in my Olo markers. So now let's go ahead and search for a gray. Again, when I have everything swatched out, it's super, super easy. So I need 2 shades of gray. I'm going to need a lighter gray, which is going to match the interior of my wheels. And then I'm going to need a darker gray that's going to match my wheels. So the lighter gray is like for the hubcap, and the darker is for the wheels, and that slate from Gina K is going to work perfectly. All right, let's go ahead and start creating that background. Once I have my colors picked, now I can go ahead and grab my inks. So for the first row of hearts, I'm going to use that poppy color, and the poppy color is from Concord and 9th. Remember, I always say, if you have several brands of inks, papers, markers, watercolors, whatever in your stamp room, you can mix them. You don't have to necessarily stay with one brand of ink. Now, I thought that this color would look perfect, and obviously I didn't have that in my Gina K inks. So I went ahead and I swatched out to Concord and 9th, and that's totally doable. Make sure whatever you have in your room, let it work to your advantage. Now I'm going to go ahead and clean this off, and I'm going to clean it pretty well because I am going in with that lighter gray. Remember, we're going in with that fog. So I am going to grab my cleaner here just to make sure I clean up those hearts and I don't have any of that red residue left over. All right, now we can come in with the fog and lay this underneath. Now, if you wanted to, you could do the whole entire bottom of this card with all of those gorgeous hearts and then stamp your sentiment on the top. But I just wanted to have my bug as the big part. I got to stop calling that a bug. It's a car. But we used to call it a Volkswagen Bug. I don't know who else used to call it a Volkswagen Bug. I still call it a Volkswagen Bug anytime I see somebody have this card. It's still a bug to me. But I do want that to be like the grand central part on the top of my card. Now I need to just go back in, grab my sentiments, and go ahead and get that stamped below. Now I went ahead and I stamped the sleigh, and now I'm stamping the queen. Now this color, I pulled in that slate. So remember the color card we had 2 to 3 colors of gray and 2 reds. So that's what I'm trying to work in here. So I am going to have a lighter and a darker gray and then my 2 reds. Look how pretty that is. That sleigh queen to me is everything, y'all. Absolutely everything. Now I have this done. This looks like a gorgeous little background. Let's bring in our car, and we have a car on some cute hearts cobblestones because it's adorable. Now, I did decide to add a few little hearts because I just felt like the top part of the car, even though it did have the large element on there, kind of looked a little bit lost or a little bit too much open space for me. So within the stamp set, there are a couple little hearts, and I'm going to add those. I'm going to start with the poppy here. and place that down. Now I'm going to have hearts next to the sentiment as well as floating on top. So you can see those three there. I'll go ahead and stamp this down. Now I did want a little bit of shading on these hearts like I did with the markers on the cards. So I went ahead and stamped that. Now I want to go in and I'm going to add just a tad bit of shading with a smaller ink cube. I believe this ink cube is Red Velvet from Gina K. And I'm going to add just a little bit of shading to those hearts, just to give them a little bit of dimension. So I'll go ahead and tap a little bit of that color on there. So I have like a little bit of a gradient. And I am going to grab a blending brush just to soften up that harsh line that was created from the ink cube. And this is going to give me a lovely little gradient on these adorable little hearts. So I can go ahead and press that down, make sure I have good contact. And when I lift that up, you can see very slightly, I have a gradient on all of my hearts. Now I need to add one more heart to the other side of the sentiment, and then we can go ahead and finish up this card. I really hope you guys have been enjoying this series this year. I really do enjoy doing these series for you guys. I think it's just a nice way to get into like the New Year groove and also to start making our Valentine's Day cards. You know, once I get past Christmas, I kind of take a break, and then Valentine's Day is when I come back and start making beautiful cards again. So here's our little card, and he's so cute, but I did want to trim him down just a little bit. So I am using my waffle flower, I believe these are the A2 dies, and I'm just going to trim this down just a wee bit so I can go ahead and matte this. Now remember, I'm trying to keep with all of my color inspiration, and I think I'm nailing it so far. Just my personal opinion. I think I'm nailing this one. I have the grays in there and I have the reds, and this is just going to be such a cute card to send to one of my friends. Now, if you guys are new here, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you will continue to stay with me throughout 2024 and beyond. And then to all of my subscribers, I just adore you guys. Thank you so much for your likes, your shares, your comments. But if you're new, don't forget to subscribe and click that bell to be notified when I'm back here making more cards. Now, I did grab a piece of slate cardstock so I can mat this little bug part. I really need to stop saying bug, but it's so cute. It's just a car, and it just brings back childhood memories. It really does. It just brings back really great childhood memories for me. I can go ahead and place that down. I did use some liquid adhesive, and this is going to allow me to kind of shift things in place before like it totally dries. So this looks fantastic. I did die cut out just a few more of the cars, we'll call them, we won't call them bugs. A couple more of the cards just so I can give some depth or dimension rather to this adorable little car. Now we have our card. He's all ready to go on to this cobblestone street, and I think he just looks precious. Now for my card base, it was not bright white like the Copic paper, but I'm just gonna have to roll with it. I really like my whites to kind of match, but I'm going to use this, and I'm going to tell you why. Because this cardstock, this is Hero Arts Dove White cardstock, even though it is a white, is not as bright white as a Copic Expressa paper. But that's okay, because to me, this white is a little bit of a warm white, and I have warm colors going on here. I use warm grays with this. So I think that's going to work perfectly. Now, sometimes I will be very, very anal about this to make sure my whites match. But for today, I'm just going to let that energy go. And I'm not going to create a card base out of Copic Expressa paper because it's a little bit more pricier. We're not going to do that today. So I am just going to place this down. Now, the recipient, they probably won't even notice unless they're a card maker like me. But we're going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. Now I can go ahead and glue this down. Again, I think this would be absolutely precious if it was on an action wobble. And I have some, but for the life of me, I cleaned up my room and I purged during the holidays. And yeah, I did such a fine job. I don't know where I put my action wobbles. They're in this room, tucked away, organized somewhere. I just don't know where. Now I'm going to go ahead and add just a tiny bit of sparkle to this. I didn't want to use like a spray or anything, so I grabbed this is a sparkle pen I've had in my room forever. I do believe they still sell these pens. They're almost like a journaling pen, I guess I want to call them, but they have shimmer to them. And this is perfect because now I can get like right in between those little metal pieces that would be on my car and just add a tad bit of bling to that. I don't want to do the whole entire card. I really do think it would be beautiful. But for this card, I just wanted to have the red just speak for itself without the shimmer. Now, once I did start doing this, I got a little bit carried away and I ended up doing the wheels and I also ended up doing the hearts. So once I finish up this last little heart, this card, you guys, will be complete. And how adorable. And look at just that little bit of shimmer. We didn't overdo it. We have just a tad bit of shimmer, but this card is so cute. Now look at the end. I'm thinking, did I just train wreck this card? But I didn't. It still looks okay. All right, everybody, let's go ahead and bring back in that color inspiration. Now, if you guys want me to do a deep dive into that color cube, let me know and I will share everything that has to do with this color cube. All right, everybody, I think I nailed the color palette for today. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. Go have a fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you guys back here soon. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.